Hi everyone. This is the voice behind the noise. And I am Myron. This is not April Fool's fake news. This is a real incident. On April 1st, more than a month after the war, the Ukrainian army launched an airstrike on the Russian mainland for the first time. This bombing also sent three very unusual signals to the outside world. In this video, we will first take a look at the specific situation of this airstrike, and then analyze three unusual points from it. Okay, let's take a look together. First, let's take a look at the specifics of this air raid. Looking at the video and pictures, the sky was not yet completely bright, and two helicopters suddenly launched an attack. The attacked Russian fuel depot immediately ignited a fire dozens of meters high. The fire and smoke can be seen from far away. According to comprehensive media reports, we can currently confirm that 1. The attack occurred at around 6 a.m. on April 1st. Two Ukrainian helicopters entered Russian territory from a low altitude and attacked a fuel depot of Rosneft. Gladkov, the governor of Russia's Belgorod region, said two employees were injured, but no one was killed. 2. Belgorod Oblast is located in northern Ukraine. The attacked fuel depot is about 25 miles from the Russian-Ukrainian border and 80 kilometers from the besieged city of Kharkiv in Ukraine. Earlier, an arsenal in Belgorod also exploded, but the Russian side said that the explosion was caused by a fire. 3. The Russian side immediately dispatched more than 170 people to rescue the fire, and the fire was not extinguished until noon. 4. In response to the cross-border attack, a spokesman for the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense said, "We will neither admit nor deny it." 5. On the Russian side, the Russian president's press secretary Peskov revealed that Putin was informed of the situation immediately after the attack. Peskov warned that Ukrainian airstrikes would hinder peace talks between the two countries. The Russian airstrike on Ukraine is not news, but the Ukrainian army crossed the border and invaded the Russian mainland, which is indeed a big news. The battlefield situation is complex and changeable. I think this airstrike sent at least three very unusual signals to the outside world. Signal 1: the Ukrainian army still has considerable combat effectiveness. Earlier, the Russian army claimed that it had taken control of Ukraine's air supremacy. However, this time the Ukrainian helicopter crossed the border to launch an attack, which at least shows that the Ukrainian army, including the Ukrainian Air Force, still has considerable combat effectiveness. Moreover, this cross-border attack should be carefully planned and quite bold. After all, it will take some time to penetrate dozens of kilometers into Russia at the speed of a helicopter, and the danger can be imagined. Perhaps they have also been afraid of being discovered by the Russian army. The Ukrainian army set off under the cover of night, approached the target in the early morning, and then quickly launched an attack, and immediately evacuated after being successful. Judging from the current results, the airstrike has reached its target, and the Russian army has not reported any destruction. The two Ukrainian helicopters have probably retreated to a safe area. From another perspective, the Ukrainian helicopter crossed the border for dozens of kilometers without being detected in time. The Ukrainian army successfully destroyed the target and finally retreated. The Russian army was too careless, and there were serious omissions in the defense line. Signal 2: it will make the battlefield situation more complicated. Obviously, this airstrike has been advertised as a major victory by the Ukrainian army and the West. There is no doubt that this kind of lightning attack will greatly boost the morale of the Ukrainian army. In the first few days of the war, under the full force of the Russian army, the Ukrainian army was completely passive. However, after entering the stalemate stage, the Ukrainian army fighting on the homeland has indeed fought very tenaciously. This cross-border airstrike by the Ukrainian army might be beyond the expectations of the Russian army. The situation is changing subtly. So far, Russia has captured only one important city in Ukraine, Kherson. The eastern town of Mariupol was besieged by the Russian army for more than a month, and 90% of the city's buildings were destroyed, but street fighting continued. In Kharkov, Ukraine's second-largest city, the Russian army was also unable to obtain after a long-term invasion. With the first time, there may be a second time. It cannot be ruled out that the Ukrainian army, inspired by the success of this attack, became more and more bold and continued to launch attacks on the territory of Russia, and the war would spread to the Russian mainland. Taking into account Russia's strategic depth, the Ukrainian army's attack is more limited to the border, which is unlikely to pose a serious threat to the Russian army, but this is a psychological warfare. Signal 3: the peace talks have become urgent and fragile. The airstrikes were launched on April 1st, which should also be a bargaining chip for negotiation. If you can't get it on the battlefield, then don't expect to get it at the negotiating table. The Ukrainian army is also showing its muscles to Russia. Don't ask too much, I'm still capable of fighting, and I can also pose a threat to you. How will the Russian army react? Perhaps they will keep silent about it, but it is more likely that the Russian army will launch a retaliatory attack on the Ukrainian side. So, from this perspective, the peace talks are very urgent. Otherwise, the situation will intensify, the two sides will be red-eyed, and there will be battlefields everywhere. But peace talks are also fragile. After all, negotiation is the art of compromise, and as a weaker party, Ukraine has to make more compromises. With a successful airstrike and high morale, Ukraine will not easily compromise, and public opinion will not support too much compromise. Not to mention, the United States and other countries are still fanning the flames, and a large number of weapons are being continuously shipped to Ukraine. The intelligence and positioning of this airstrike does not rule out the secret assistance of the West. The battlefield is changing rapidly, and if you are not careful, the situation will quickly reverse. The Russian army's carelessness and the Ukrainian army's successful airstrike prove that the war in Ukraine is entering the stage of counterattack. It is no longer one-sided, but both sides have the ability to launch attacks and can cause damage to the other side. At the end of the video, I really hope both of them can take a step back and have a peace talk as soon as possible. Without peace talks, more poor lives will be buried in this spring. We will see you in the next video. Goodbye.